My uncle toasted to my laugh at ambition in front of everyone, so I raised my glass, shared evidence that spoke louder than his words, and watched his smile turn into a shocked frown in seconds. I need to get this out before I lose my mind completely. This happened 6 months ago, and I'm still picking the pieces of what I destroyed. Maybe writing this will help someone else avoid making the same catastrophic mistake I did. Sarah and I had been together for 8 years. 8 years. We met in college, moved in together after graduation, got engaged last Christmas. She was everything I thought I wanted: smart, funny, beautiful, loyal to a fault. The kind of woman who would surprise me with my favorite takeout after a rough day, who remembered every anniversary we'd ever celebrated. But somewhere along the way I started feeling restless. Trapped maybe, like I was missing out on something. That's where Emma comes in. She started at my marketing firm in January, fresh out of grad school, all bright smiles and ambitious energy. 24 to my 29. She laughed at my jokes, asked for my advice on projects, stayed late when I stayed late. Looking back, I can see exactly how pathetic I was, a nearly 30, old man getting his ego stroked by someone who was basically still a kid. It started innocent: coffee runs, work lunches that ran a little too long, group happy hours where somehow we'd end talking in the corner while everyone else played pool. Sarah would ask about my day and I'd mention Emma casually. Oh, just helping the new girl settle in. Sarah trusted me completely. Why wouldn't she? I'd never given her a reason not to. The first real line I crossed was deleting Emma's texts. Nothing inappropriate in them, just work stuff, funny memes, complaints about our boss. But I deleted them anyway because something in my gut knew Sarah wouldn't like how often Emma was texting me. How often I was looking forward to those texts. Then came the business trip to Chicago. Emma and I were both assigned to the Morrison account presentation. 2 days, separate hotel rooms, professional meetings. I swear that's all I intended it to be. The presentation went well. We celebrated with the client over dinner and drinks. Emma looked incredible that night, this blue dress that made her eyes pop, her hair done in some complicated way that probably took an hour. She kept touching my arm when she laughed, leaning in close when the restaurant got loud. Back at the hotel, we were both buzzed and riding high from landing the account. She asked if I wanted to grab one more drink at the hotel bar. Just to debrief, she said. I should have said no. I should have gone to my room, called Sarah, told her about our successful day. Instead I said yes. We sat in this dimly lit corner booth, way closer than we needed to be. The conversation got personal fast. She told me about her ex-boyfriend who'd cheated on her in college. I found complaining about Sarah, like how she always left dishes in the sink, how she'd gotten comfortable in our relationship, how we hadn't been intimate as much lately. Even as the words came out of my mouth, I knew they were excuses. Sarah worked 60-hour weeks as a nurse. She was exhausted. She was planning our wedding. She was dealing with her mom's cancer diagnosis. Of course she wasn't thinking about whether the dishes got done immediately. But Emma listened with these big sympathetic eyes. She said things like, deserve to feel appreciated. And some people just take their partners for granted. She made me feel like the victim in my own relationship. When the bar closed, we stood by the elevators. Her room was on the 7th floor, mine on the 12th. The elevator came and we both got in. I hit both buttons. The doors closed and she looked at me with this expression I'd been pretending not to notice for weeks. Like I was something special. Like I was exciting. No, she said quietly. I've really enjoyed working with Pine. Yeah, I managed. Me too. The elevator stopped at 7. The doors opened. Emma stepped out, then turned back. If one had talked more, I'm in 712. She walked away, and I stood there like watching her disappear around the corner. The elevator doors started to close. I could have let them. I could have gone to my room, called Sarah, forgotten this moment ever happened. Instead, I stuck my hand out to stop the doors. I found room 712. Knocked twice. Emma answered in hotel pajamas, a tank top and shorts that left nothing to imagination. She'd taken her hair down. She looked younger, somehow more vulnerable. I wasn't sure'd come, she said, stepping aside to let me in. I probably shouldn't be here. But her room was identical to mine but felt completely different. More intimate. She'd made herself at home, laptop open on the bed, makeup scattered across the bathroom counter, her blue dress from dinner in the open closet. We sat on the edge of the bed, and suddenly everything felt charged. Dangerous. She was so close I could smell her perfume. Something light and floral that was nothing like what Sarah wore. I should go, I said, but I didn't move. Should, she asked, and then her hand was on my knee. What happened next? I can't blame anyone, but I knew exactly what I was doing when I knew exactly what I was throwing away when things went further. Afterward, lying there in the dark hotel room, the weight of what I'd done hit me like a truck. Emma was curled next to me, breathing softly, and all I could think about was Sarah at home, probably texting me goodnight, trusting me completely. I slipped out before Emma woke. Caught an early flight home. Spent the entire 3 hours rehearsing what I'd tell Sarah about the trip, carefully editing out every mention of Emma, every detail that might give me away. Sarah picked me from the airport with my favorite coffee and a huge smile. She'd gotten her hair while I was gone shorter, more modern. She looked, how did it go? She asked, kissing me before I could answer. Good, I lied. Really good. We got the account. I'm so proud of, she said, and the words felt like knives. For 3 weeks I lived with this secret eating me alive. Emma and I barely spoke at work, a few awkward exchanges about follow meetings, both of us pretending nothing had happened. I into wedding planning with Sarah, convincing that what happened in Chicago was a one-time mistake, that I could make it right by being the perfect fiancé from now on. Then Emma left a note on my desk. We need to talk. We met at a coffee shop across town during lunch. She looked nervous, fidgety. Dark circles under her eyes. I can't do this, she said without preamble, pretending nothing happened, acting like colleagues when we're in meetings. Emma, what happened was a mistake. I'm engaged, I'm getting married in 6 months. A mistake. Her voice got sharp. That's what call it. I care about Sarah. I love Sarah. Then why we're in my hotel room? I didn't have an answer that didn't make me sound like a complete. Because I wanted attention, because I was bored. Because I'm selfish. Can't happen again, I said finally. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Think I want it to happen again. Think I want to be the other woman. We sat in silence for a long moment. Other people's normal lunch conversations buzzed around us while my world felt like it was tilting sideways. I'm thinking about transferring to the Seattle office, Emma said quietly. Don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Because every time I look at I think about that night. And I think about fiancégate at home, planning wedding, and I feel sick. She left me sitting there with 2 untouched lats, and the growing realization that my secret wasn't going to stay buried as easily as I'd hoped. That night, Sarah was excited about wedding venue visits we had scheduled for the weekend. She'd made a whole spreadsheet of options, complete with photos and pros and cons lists. She sat next to me on the couch, laptop balanced between us, pointing out details I should have been excited about. This one has the most beautiful garden for photos, she said, scrolling through pictures. And look, they do these string lights for the reception. I nodded and made appropriate sounds, but all I could think about was Emma's face across that coffee table. The way she'd looked at me like I was something. Real quiet tonight, Sarah said, closing the laptop and curling into my side. Everything okay? Just tired, long day. She pressed her lips to my neck, her hand moving to my chest. Want me to help relax? 6 months ago I would have said yes immediately. Sarah was affectionate, generous, always thinking of ways to make me happy. But that night, with Emma's perfume still somehow lingering in my memory, with the weight of what I'd done sitting on my chest like a stone, I just couldn't. Rain check, I said. I'm really wiped out. I saw the flash of in her eyes before she covered it with understanding. Of course, worked too hard. She my cheek and went to get ready for bed, and I sat there hating more than I thought possible. Emma transferred to Seattle 2 weeks later. I thought that would be the end of it. Problem solved, secret buried, back to normal. If read my last post, no, I thought Emma transferring to Seattle would solve my problems. That I could just pretend Chicago never happened and move on with my. I was wrong about everything. 3 months went by. 3 months of me thinking I'd dodged a bullet. Sarah and I found our venue, the one with the garden and string lights she'd been excited about. We sent saved the dates. I watched her address envelopes in her careful handwriting, putting little heart stickers on each one, and felt like the worst person alive. But I kept telling it was over. Don't. A mistake that I'd never repeat. Then Sarah's phone buzzed during dinner one night in April. We were at this little Italian place where we'd had our first date 8 years ago. Sarah had surprised me with reservations, said she wanted to do something romantic just because. She looked beautiful in that dress I'd bought her for her birthday, laughing at some story I was telling about my coworker Mike. Her phone lit on the table. A Facebook message notification. Emma Walsh wants to connect with. The drain from my face so fast I thought I might pass out. Sarah glanced at the screen, then at me. Emma Walsh, why does that name sound familiar? My mouth went completely dry. I don't know, maybe someone from college. Sarah picked her phone, frowning. No, I know I've heard that name recently. She looked at me again, and didn't mention an Emma from work. The new girl. Oh. Yeah, maybe that's her. Why would she be messaging me on Facebook? I had no clue, but I was about to find out. And I knew with absolute certainty that whatever Emma had to say was going to destroy everything. Can I see phone for a second? Sarah asked. What? I want to see if I know her from somewhere. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it across the table. It's probably just someone trying to add random people. Know how Facebook is? But Sarah was already opening the message. I watched her face change as she read. The confused frown became something else. Something cold and distant that I'd never seen before. Sarah, what does it say? She didn't answer. She just kept reading, her face getting paler by the second. Finally, she looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes. She says she needs to tell me something important about Chicago. The restaurant noise faded to nothing. The couple at the next table laughing over. The clatter of dishes in the kitchen. All of it disappeared, leaving just Sarah's voice and the sound of my world ended. She says spent the night in her room. I opened my mouth but nothing came out. What could I possibly say? How to explain betrayal to someone who trusted completely? Is it true? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. I could have lied. I could have said Emma was crazy, jealous, making things. For about 3 seconds I considered it. But looking at Sarah's face, this woman who'd spent 8 years believing in me, who'd never once questioned my loyalty, I couldn't add another lie to the pile. Yes, such a small word to destroy everything. Sarah stared at me for what felt like an eternity. People kept eating around us, oblivious to the fact that my was imploding. The waiter came by to refill our glasses and I wanted to laugh at how normal he thought everything was. How long? Sarah asked finally. Just that night. I swear, Sarah, just that once. How long have been lying to me about it? 3 months. She flinched like I'd slapped her. 3 months. We've been planning our wedding for 3 months while I've been lying to my face every single day. Sarah, please let me explain. Explain what? How someone else and then came home and me. How helped me pick out flowers for our wedding while knowing cheated on me. I'd never heard Sarah say anything like that before. She didn't curse, didn't raise her voice, didn't do confrontation, but I could see 8 years of trust cracking apart in real time. It didn't mean anything. I said, which might be the stupidest thing I've ever said in my. Sarah laughed, but it was hollow and broken. Didn't mean anything. Then why did do it? I don't know. She repeated it like she was testing how the words sounded. Away 8 years because don't know. She stood grabbing her purse. I'm going to my sister's. Sarah, wait. Please, we can work through this. She turned back to me, and I saw something I'd never seen in her eyes before. Disgust. Work through this. Had 3 months to work through this. Instead lied to me every day. Let me plan our wedding. Let me tell my parents how excited I was to marry. I was trying to protect me. Her voice broke. We're protecting. She walked out, leaving me sitting there with 2 plates of pasta getting cold in a room full of strangers who had no idea they just watched someone's entire future disappear. I paid the check and drove home in a daze. Our apartment felt different somehow. Smaller. All of Sarah's wedding magazines were still spread across the coffee table. Her dress was in the closet, still in its garment bag with the receipt pinned to it. She didn't come home that night. Or the next night. When she finally showed on Sunday morning, she had her sister Amy with her. Amy had never liked me much and the look she gave me could have melted steel. I'm getting my things, Sarah said without looking at me. Sarah, please, can we just talk? We talked for 8 years, she said, heading toward the bedroom. Apparently, that wasn't enough to keep faithful. I followed her, watching as she pulled clothes from our dresser, stuffed them into suitcases I'd bought for our honeymoon. Everything she touched felt like another piece of our together being erased. What about the wedding? I asked stupidly. Sarah stopped packing and stared at me. What about it? All the deposits. The venue dress. Should have thought about that before slept with Emmy appeared in the doorway. Sarah, don't have to listen to this. I know. Sarah zipped a suitcase, but I want him to understand something. She turned to face me fully for the first time since Friday night. Do you know what the worst part is? It's not even that cheated. It's that came home and pretended nothing happened. Helped me plan our wedding, met with the florist and tasted wedding cakes and smiled at me like actually loved me. I do love Pont. No, don't. People who love each other don't do what did. They don't lie for months. They don't let the person they supposedly love make a fool of themselves. She was right, and we both knew it. Want to know why Emma messaged me? Sarah continued. She said she couldn't live with herself knowing I was marrying someone who could lie so easily. She said I deserved to know what kind of man I was about to commit my to. The irony was crushing. Emma, who'd participated in my betrayal, had ended being more honest with Sarah than I was. She included screenshots of text messages. Sarah said quietly. All those times complained about me to her. How I'd gotten too comfortable. How our relationship had gotten stale. I felt sick. I'd forgotten about those texts, sent during those weeks after Chicago when I was spiraling and looking for any justification for what I'd done. Sarah, I didn't mean any of that. I was just what? Just talking about me to the woman cheated with. Just making sure she knew I was the problem in our relationship. There was nothing I could say that wouldn't make it worse. Sarah finished packing while I stood there uselessly. When she was done, she walked to the kitchen and came back with something in her hand. Her engagement ring. She held it out to me and I saw her hand shaking. I loved, she said. I loved so much that I was going to spend the rest of my with. I was going to have children. I was going to grow old with. I took the ring, and it felt impossibly heavy. I would have done anything for, she continued. If we're unhappy, it felt like we'd gotten stale. If needed something different, could have talked to me. We could have worked on it together. Instead decided I wasn't worth the conversation. That's not true. It is true. Decided our relationship wasn't worth fighting for. Decided I wasn't worth being honest with. And now want me to what? Marry anyway. Pretend this never happened. Amy stepped forward. Sarah, we should go. Sarah nodded, picking her last suitcase. I've already called the venue, the caterer, the photographer. I'm handling the cancellations. Don't worry about the money, I'll deal with it. Shouldn't have to. No, I shouldn't have to do a lot of things. But here we are. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back one more time. The thing is, I could have maybe forgiven the cheating. People make mistakes. But the lying, the months of looking me in the eye and pretending we're the man I thought were. That's not a mistake. That's who choose to be. The door closed behind them, and I was alone with the silence and the weight of what I'd done. That was 4 months ago. Sarah blocked me on everything: phone, social media, email. I heard through mutual friends that she moved across the country for a job in Oregon. Started fresh where nobody knew about the wedding that never happened or the man who wasn't worth marrying. I tried to get Emma's contact info, wanting to scream at her for blowing my, but then I realized she'd done what I should have done months earlier. She told the truth. The worst part isn't losing Sarah, though that's pretty devastating. The worst part is realizing that I'd convinced I was a good person who made a mistake, when really I'm just someone who's capable of breathtaking selfishness when it suits me. Sarah deserved better. She deserved honesty even if it. She deserved a partner who would for their relationship instead of sabotaging it. She deserved someone who wasn't me. It's been 6 months since Sarah walked out. 6 months since I held her engagement ring in my hand and watched 8 years disappear. I keep telling I'm going to post this and then delete this account, move on, stop picking at the wound. But I need to finish this story. Maybe for me, maybe for anyone else, enough to think they can cheat without consequences. The first month after Sarah left was the worst. I kept expecting her to come back. Kept thinking she'd cool off and we'd find a way to work through it. I sent flowers to her sister's place with a note apologizing. Amy sent them back with a messagey. Sarah doesn't want anything from stop. I tried calling her parents. Her dad hung on me. Her mom at least listened for 30 seconds before saying, broke our daughter's heart, leave her alone. Work became a nightmare. Word travels fast in a small company, and somehow everyone knew about the cheating and the cancelled wedding. Not the details, but enough. Mike from accounting, who I'd considered a friend, barely spoke to me anymore. Lisa from HR gave me looks like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. The worst part was running into people who didn't know yet. Sarah's friend Jessica cornered me at a coffee shop, all excited about the wedding. Sarah's been so stressed with the planning, but she's going to be such a beautiful bride. I had to tell her there wasn't going to be a wedding. Watching her face change from excitement to confusion to disgust was like reliving that night at the restaurant all over again. Cheated on Sarah. Jessica's voice carried across the coffee shop. Sarah, who's been planning wedding for months. Sarah, who was showing us bridesmaid dress options last week. Everyone in the place turned to stare. I left without getting my coffee. That's when I started to understand something I'd never thought about before. When betray someone like Sarah, someone universally liked, someone genuinely good, don't just lose them. Lose everyone who cares about them. Their friends become people who cross the street to avoid. Their family members become people who know exactly what kind of person are. 2 months after Sarah left, I got a text from my own sister. Mom told me what happened. I can't believe did that to Sarah. She was perfect for. Even my family was disappointed in me. My mother, who'd been asking about grandchildren for years, stopped mentioning Sarah altogether. When I finally told her we'd broken, she was quiet for a long time. What did do? She asked finally. Why do assume I did something? Because Sarah loved and calling me instead of fighting for her. I couldn't bring to tell her the truth. Couldn't admit to my own mother that I'd thrown away the best thing in my for one night with someone I barely knew. 3 months after Sarah left, I found out through mutual friends that she'd gotten the job in Oregon. A promotion at a hospital in Portland, 3,000 miles from everything we'd built together. The finality of it hit me like a truck. She wasn't just taking a break from me. She was building a completely new where I didn't exist. I started drinking too much. Not during the day, not at work, but every night when I came home to our empty apartment. Sarah had taken her things, but everywhere I looked, I saw what was missing. The spot on the fridge where her schedule used to. The bathroom counter where her makeup used to live. The side of the bed where she used to sleep. I'd sit on the couch with and scroll through her social media until I remembered she'd blocked me. Then I'd create accounts just to see what she was posting. Pathetic doesn't begin to cover it. She looked happy in Portland. Posted pictures of hiking trails and coffee shops and new friends from work. Her smile in those photos was different, lighter somehow. Like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders, the weight of me. 4 months after Sarah left, Emma reached out. She was back in town for a work conference and wanted to meet for coffee. I was so desperate for any connection to what had happened that I said yes. She looked different, more professional, more confident. Seattle had been good for her. "How are doing?" she asked, and I could tell she already knew the answer. "How do you think I'm doing?" We sat in awkward silence for a while. Finally, she spoke. I didn't want to message her, no. I went back and forth about it for weeks. Then why did? Because I kept thinking about her planning wedding. Picking out flowers and tasting cakes and being excited to marry someone who'd already betrayed her. It felt cruel to let that continue. I wanted to be angry at her for destroying my. But she was right and we both knew it. Do you regret it? I'd asked. She considered this. I regret sleeping with an engaged man. I regret being part of someone who didn't deserve it. But telling her the truth. No, she had a right to know who she was marrying. She loved me. She loved who she thought were. That's different. Emma paid for both our coffees and left. I never saw her again. 5 months after Sarah left, I finally moved out of our apartment. I couldn't afford it alone, and every day there felt like living in a mausoleum of my own mistakes. I found a studio across town, packed the remnants of our together, and tried to start over. Going through our stuff was photo albums from trips we'd taken, the mug she'd bought me that said, "World's okayest boyfriend," birthday cards she'd written with messages about our future together. I almost did all away, but at the last minute, I packed it in a box and put it in storage. I couldn't keep it, but I couldn't destroy it either. The hardest thing to pack was the wedding dress. It was still in the closet, tags on, receipt pinned to the bag. Sarah had been so excited when she found it, called me from the bridal shop, practically crying with happiness. I found it. I found the dress. I told her I couldn't wait to see her in it. Now it would never be worn. Never be part of the happiest day of someone's. Just an expensive reminder of everything I destroyed. I donated it to a charity that gives wedding dresses to women who can't afford them. At least someone else might get joy from it. At least it wouldn't just there forever, a monument to my failure. The new apartment felt sterile and empty. No shared furniture, no accumulated memories, no signs that love had ever lived there. Just me and the choices I'd made and the silence they created. I tried dating a few times. Downloaded apps, went on coffee dates, told I needed to move forward. But every woman I met felt like a betrayal of what I'd lost. And honestly, what did I have to offer? What kind of partner could be when I'd proven I was capable of such devastating selfishness? On what would have been our wedding day, I drove past the venue we'd booked. They were setting for someone else's ceremony. White chairs in neat rows, flowers everywhere, fairy lights strung through the trees. I sat in my car across the street and watched them create the scene that should have been ours. Sarah should have been walking down that aisle. We should have been promising to love each other forever, surrounded by everyone who cared about us. Instead, she was 3,000 miles away, building, and that didn't include me, and I was sitting alone in a car, watching strangers get the happiness I'd thrown away. That night, I called my mother and told her everything. The cheating, the lying, the months of deception. She cried, which made it worse somehow. My mother, who'd raised me to better than this, crying over what I'd become. "I don't understand," she said through tears. "Sarah was so good to. She was going to be such a wonderful wife, such a good mother to children." I know. Then why? It's the question everyone asks. The question I've asked 1,000 times. Why would someone throw away everything good in there for something so meaningless? I've thought about this for 6 months now, and I think I finally understand. It wasn't about Emma. It wasn't about being unhappy with Sarah. It wasn't about feeling trapped or missing out or any of the excuses I told. It was about wanting to feel special, important, desired. Emma made me feel like I was someone worth pursuing, someone exciting enough to take risks for. Sarah, who loved me completely and unconditionally, had stopped making me feel special because I'd gotten used to being loved by her. I took her love for granted and went looking for something that felt more valuable because it was harder to get. I traded a woman who would have done anything for me for a woman who barely knew me. I traded a lifetime of genuine love for one night of artificial excitement. I traded everything real for something completely empty. And the worst part is, I made that trade knowingly. Every step of the way, I knew what I was risking. I knew what I was throwing away. I did it anyway because in that moment, my ego mattered more than Sarah's heart. That's who I am. That's who I chose to be. Sarah sent me one final message 2 weeks ago through a mutual friend. She's engaged to someone else. A doctor she met in Portland. Someone who apparently treats her like she's precious. The message said she's happy and asked that I not try to contact her to congratulate her or anything like that. She wants our story to be over completely. I'm glad she's happy. I really am. She deserves everything good in this world, and I hope this new guy gives it to her. I hope he never makes her feel like she's not enough. I hope he never takes her love for granted. I hope he's everything I wasn't. But knowing she's found someone who deserves her makes the loss even more final. She's not just living without me, she's thriving without me. She's better off without me. That's a hard truth to swallow, but it's the truth nonetheless. Last week, I saw Jessica again at the same coffee shop where she'd confronted me 6 months ago. This time, she didn't look disgusted, she looked sorry for me. "I heard Sarah's getting married again," she said. "Yeah, I'm happy for her." The question caught me off guard. Was I happy for her? Or was I just saying what I was supposed to say? "I want her to be happy," I said finally. "She deserves to be happy." Jessica studied my face for a moment. "Look terrible." "Thanks?" I mean it. Look like haven't slept in months. She wasn't wrong. The guilt, the regret, the knowledge of what I'd lost, it follows me everywhere. I wake thinking about it, go to bed thinking about it, carry it with me through every mundane moment of every day. Do regret it? Jessica asked. Every day. Good, she said, but not unkindly. Should. She left and I sat there thinking about her words. Good, should regret it. Because regret is what I have left now. Regret and the knowledge that I had everything I could have wanted and I destroyed it for nothing. Absolutely nothing. People talk about learning from mistakes, about growth, about becoming a better person. Maybe that's possible for some people. Maybe I'll be better in my next relationship, if there ever is one. But what I did to Sarah can't be undone. The I caused can't be taken back. The trust I broke can't be rebuilt. The wedding we planned will never happen. The we were building will never exist. She's moved on, found someone better, and built something beautiful with him. Good, she deserves that. Me, I'm sitting in an empty apartment, typing this story to strangers on the internet, wondering if anyone else will read this and recognize themselves before they make the same catastrophic mistake I did. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's just different grass, and by the time realize it's not better, I've already burned down the garden spent years growing. If we're in a relationship, value for it, talk to partner, work on problems together. Don't go looking for excitement in someone else's bed. And if we're tempted to cheat, remember this, the temporary thrill isn't worth the permanent damage. Sarah's getting married to someone who deserves her. And I'm learning what it means to live with the consequences of choosing poorly. Some mistakes can recover from. Some mistakes teach valuable lessons that make stronger. And some mistakes just cost everything ever wanted, leaving with nothing but the echo of what used to have and the knowledge that it all away with own two hands.